Hey everybody, welcome back. Tonight I wanted to dive right into tonight's topic, as you saw in the title, escaping the matrix. Let's be honest. Um, it really depends, I guess, on how you define the matrix, but I would say for most of us, it's the how it's basically crushing our daily lives. Most people now, it seems like, are trapped in many cases, multiple dead end jobs where they are just literally working their butts off just to make ends meet, and they are pretty much miserable. It's starting to sound like across the board. It is pretty depressing, I have to admit, when you look at all the accounts that people are now posting online of what their lives have become like. And I realize there are people out there that don't like to hear, the negative stuff about it, but I promise we're going to kind of get to a point where we're going to do a little bit of defining later in the video of what your idea of escaping the matrix might even be. But from my understanding, at least my view of what the matrix is it's really the government and societal changes that have happened that basically are oppressing everybody. We are now in a situation where we have such extreme levels of elite and government overreach and just misuse of government funds, overly taxed and crushing everybody. And on top of that, you have private equity basically destroying many of the companies and businesses that we grew up knowing, especially here in America, but throughout the Western world, where we are in a position where nobody has long term careers anymore, long term pensions anymore. And that is becoming very quickly a thing of the past. In fact, for most people, it is a thing of the past. And I would say a lot of this has happened because of the aforementioned corruption that has now taken over, where we have the deep state and a lot of things that I personally believe is happening. I think many of you, this will resonate with you. Just extreme levels of corruption and attempts to control and do a lot of damage to average Americans and average people just in whatever country, whether you're watching this from someplace in Europe, Australia, any place that you might be looking at this, it seems like it is spreading just everywhere. So, however you would like to define the matrix, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. Just let me know what your definition of what this is, because we all have, it seems, to some degree varying definitions, and to some degree parts of it that we agree on. But I guess the first question that I would have to raise about this is, how many of you believe that this is something that can be addressed on a government level, where we can get into local government and affect change, or even get into federal government and affect change? Or is this something that's going to take a much more harsh solution than that? Something along the lines of an economic collapse before everything can reset, where everybody's going to be thrown back pretty far and hard before we can start to get things moving in the right direction again. Other issues that might happen from that, or would we be able to get people into local government and start to affect change there? Because let's face it, a lot of the housing issues, that really starts in local government, not really the federal government, where boards of supervisors and people that decide a lot of the issues about our housing and a lot of the issues about our taxes on a state level, like personal property tax and things of that nature, is that even a possibility in your minds? I would love to hear from you in the comments and see what you all think, because I have to admit that for myself, there was a period of time where I kind of thought maybe there's a chance. Maybe there's a chance that we could get people into government on a local level, even on a state level, and then even on a federal level, and affect real change. But now I have to admit, part of me is becoming, I'm actually mostly leaving that narrative behind and really kind of coming to the conclusion this is going to take severe collapse, severe change, way beyond just what we understand in our governments as to how things are going to work. We're just not going to be able to affect that kind of change. I'm starting to really lean down that road. And I'm kind of sensing, if I read the room correctly, that a lot of other people are kind of going down this road too. We're beginning to realize anytime we ever get anybody into office that's going to affect change, they're going to try and kill them. They're going to try and get them out. They're going to do everything they can to undermine anything that's going to actually affect change, and let any of us have any type of a life that we would we would actually thrive in. So, once again, leave your thoughts in the comments, and just tell me, where you stand on this. Do you think that that's even a possibility, or do you think we are way too far gone to be able to do that? Because I've watched other videos talking about how they would define the matrix and how they would define attempting to escape the matrix and do what they're going to do, but they don't really. A lot of them seem very flowery, and they seem very, they're trying to be introspective. And I just want to cut right to the chase. I'm like, well, do you think that that can even be salvaged as a society, or is it just too far gone? Because I'm starting to lean towards it's just too far gone. Well, I guess the next question would be, how would you define escaping the matrix on a personal level? What would you personally do to escape the matrix, escape the grind of having, and I would say the 9 to 5 grind, but it is even more than that. Many people that I've seen them post their stories or write about their stories, they're talking about how they are working 60, 70 hours a week at multiple different jobs, and they're still barely making it. I am hearing stories of people who are full-time employed, but they're going homeless and living in their cars and having gym memberships so they can have showers and have some basic amenities to be able to get clean to go to work. But they have a full-time job, and the cheaper route, the only way that they can really make it and be able to save any money, is to live in their vehicle, or find some way to get into an RV, or find some way to bunk into somebody else's house and multiple people pool together. So as I keep hearing these stories, I really begin to wonder, so what are people's ideas about escaping the matrix? And I guess the ultimate question beyond that would be, if enough of us pull out from doing that, what kind of a takeover is going to happen if those of us that are aware and those of us that can do something about it simply pull back and try to protect and cover ourselves because we believe there's no way to change it without an imminent, complete collapse or a complete change of everything where it's pretty drastic to the point of certain measures that I'm not even going to mention here, but they get pretty hostile. So if we believe that that's the only thing that could possibly change it all, and then the only option we have is to pull back into creating our own version of escaping the matrix, are we potentially letting that get to a point to where no matter where we go, it eventually finds us? That's a real catch-22. I'm not sure whether or not eventually you don't get cornered and then we all get pocketed into certain areas to where we have trouble mounting some form of resistance against it. I would love to hear your thoughts on that too, because these are things that I think a lot more people are thinking about than are willing to stand up and just say, yes, this is on my mind quite a bit. And this is certainly something that's on my mind quite a bit too, as I notice the shift and the change of everything. And in the first video I ever posted here on YouTube, when I talk about how everything's changed and I can't be the only one that's noticed it, I just realize how many people feel like just everything. It's like something in the air almost. And I'm saying that, like in a metaphorical way, but it's almost like the spirit of the times has shifted or something, to where holidays don't even feel the same. Nothing feels the same. And you feel like we feel like we're in a permanent survival mode now. So going on to escaping the matrix in your own way, how would you define it? Now, I can give you some of how I would define it, and I would love to hear, as I said, from you guys. How do you feel about this? What's your definition of getting away from it? Trying to break free of either the 9 to 5 or the 70-hour work week or whatever it is that you might be stuck in, and trying to reclaim the freedom and the ability to thrive in your own life. How would you define that? I mentioned this in some of my other videos. I ended up shrinking way down, building something about the size of a cabin, setting it up to where I have minimal bills, minimal debt, and I use solar panels with batteries that are actually connected and running a lot of the things that I have here in my place. And there was actually a well on the property that I can draw water from, and my pump is actually basically a simpler one than you would have for like a huge place. But for right now, most of the time, it's just me here. So I've simplified that so I don't have a whole bunch of oh, I don't have a mortgage or rent, and I don't have a bunch of other things. But it took a lot of doing. I'm not going to lie and say, oh, I just did it, and it was just this nice happy story, and show you a video filled with all these little anecdotes that make it look far simpler than it actually is. It took years and years of downsizing stuff and really, really pinching and changing a number of things in my life to make that happen. It didn't just happen easily, and it didn't happen overnight. And it takes some real willpower in doing it to not go back into what you were doing. So, not particularly easy, not the answer for everybody. I've heard a number of people discussing, oh, I guess getting RVs and doing stuff like that. And I guess, kind of getting into the RV life just to have a way to save up and take a lot more control of their money than they've had in the past. Um, I would say that a lot of people's solutions is it seems like maybe growing your own food could be a potential thing. I have not actually gotten to that point, but it is certainly something that interests me when you read the disheartening stories about just what all is going into our food, all the processed garbage that's happening with our food supply. It really, really makes you want to be able to really source where your food's coming from. And if you're growing it yourself, that's a totally different story. I understand that there are a lot of people that's something that they would aim for, being able to supply their own food, grow their own food, so they know what they're getting when they eat, which it's kind of mind-boggling to think that that's the sort of measures that we're having to take, and where we've come to is that we have to figure out ways to grow and make our own food because we can't trust anything anymore. So, what is your definition of that? How would you escape? What are your thoughts on it? And I mean, I guess the last point on that would be like from a financial standpoint, how do you do it? Well, depending on whether or not you're going to either have a business or a side hustle or something that you're going to do to try and generate money, are you going to have a job and then try to reduce your bills? Try to get rid of your debt as much as possible. Shrink down to the point to where you just don't owe very much, and then you can accumulate money. What are your other options beyond that? I mean, I really it's such a wide array of possibilities, but I really am just curious about what other people are doing in this situation and how they're approaching it. What their thoughts are on it, because my I can really only speak from my experience and obviously some of the stuff that I've watched other people post, but definitely things that I think are of concern and questions that as I'm kind of pondering all of that, I'm hoping that some of you are even pondering some of this and wondering, where do we go from here? Do we pull ourselves back in even tighter and figure out ways to either cut our budgets, spend less, cut corners, make money outside the system to where, you have your own business and everything, and you don't have to worry about getting laid off at some point when you're not expecting it and get completely financially flipped on your head? What are your thoughts on that? So, at any rate, that's pretty much everything I wanted to sum up tonight. And as I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think about all of this. And as I finish up, make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. I'm going to keep pumping out videos. I'm actually really getting to a point where I'm starting to enjoy this and hopefully not tripping over myself when I talk. But a lot of the times I feel like I just speak it better over the platform when I'm just really speaking about something that I'm passionate about and not really worried about whether I'm going to have a script or a certain layout. I just kind of pick a topic and certain points on it that I'm already thinking about, that I start to sense as I read the room that other people, they're thinking about it, noticing it too. They're like, okay, yeah, this needs to be brought to light. This needs to be addressed. So, at any rate, have a great night. And I look forward to talking to all of you soon.